All political parties are up in arms against what they describe as astronomical increase in filing fees by the Electoral Commission for this year's general elections. The Electoral Commission has pegged the filing fee at 50,000 cedis for presidential candidates and 10,000 cedis for parliamentary candidates, and the political parties have vowed to fiercely resist this increment. And there's been an IPAC meeting where Politcal is standing by to give us an update. Good evening, Komna, and understand the IPAC meeting has ended. What have you picked up so far?
Good evening, Portia. A very heated IPAC meeting today, meeting that was scheduled to start somewhere around 2 o'clock, actually started around 2:30 thereabouts. But I mean, from what you've already indicated in the intro, the Electoral Commission has increased the filing fee, just like you did say, from 50,000, from 10,000 for presidential candidates in the 24th elections. It has been increased to 50,000. Now for parliamentary, it has been increased from 1,000 cities to 10,000 cities. As it used to be in the 2012 general elections. I can say Kwabena Bonfe, he was not very pleased with it. He said, I mean, it was a calculated thing by the EC saying they can support their parties also, but the concerns raised by the smaller parties is a valid one. Therefore, they have spoken to the EC. The EC actually looks quite certain on the figure, though, that, well, this is what you have to say, because this is what we have thought about, and just as IPAC, it is just to deliberate on it, and then they will see how far this can go. From look of things, it doesn't appear as though the EC would be cancelling this, most especially when the EC has picking up nomination forms from Tuesday, September 13th, and then the candidates are required to submit it the 9th, 30th of September 2015. It clearly tells the EC has made up its mind on this, though, but the parties have said, well, they will still resist it. They will still have a meeting with the EC to see how best this could be. Another thing also came up at the meeting was that the EC has also announced that the tender for the electronic results transmission system has been cancelled because none of the tenders were two. Two of them have not met the criteria set by the EC for electronic transmission of votes. So the EC said, well, for this year, there's not going to be electronic transmission of votes.
Okay. Now, Komala, the political parties vowed to fiercely resist the move by the EC with regard to the filing fees. And if the EC does not have a real look at this, what's their next line of action?
Well, from what they have been speaking about, it clearly will be a dialogue between them and the EC. There's virtually very little they can do. They can talk and talk and talk, but they said, well, they will still dialogue with the EC. Even the bigger parties, for instance, speaking to the chairman of the NDC, Kofi Potofi, he said, well, indeed, I mean, clearly it will be quite difficult for somebody to raise 10,000 now a parliamentary candidate. Even what Bru, who would be standing off, who said that he will be standing, he said it will be a difficult task for him to raise the 50,000. But there's still dialogue with the EC as to which other steps they have been able to tell, especially the parties. But it is quite likely that in the coming week, the smaller parties might meet in and then set a way forward. In the absence of that, the EC does appear bent on maintaining the figure as it stands now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Politcal, for that update. The Electoral Commission pegging the filing fee at 50,000 cedis for presidential candidates and 10,000 cedis for parliamentary candidates.
2016 elections covered like never before, online, on air, and on mobile. This is your Election Command Center. We are the specialists.
You're welcome back to News 360 live from our studios here at TV3 in Accra. And for more news stories and information on the 2016 elections, tune into 3FM on 92.7 as well as on 95.1 FM.
You can also log on to our website 3news.com.
Right now. Only 5% of those in the informal sector have access to social security policies.
This was based on the research findings conducted by the Trades Union Congress at the early part of this year.
Over a period of 6 months, it indicated that only 5% of those in the informal sector have access to social security policies. 95% of the remaining workers have not accessed the policies because of the fear of the cumbersome processes to receive their benefits. The findings again emphasize that between 60 to 80% of the Ghanaians are mainly found in the informal sector. Most worrying, according to the research, was that workers in the informal sector have failed to join any pension scheme. The research further attributed the problem to limited knowledge of the population in the informal sector about the 3-tier pension scheme. For these reasons, the Union of Informal Sector Workers, UNIWA, an affiliate of the TUC, has engaged the Ghana Actors Guild to educate them on the 3-tier pension scheme. Their interaction centered on the benefits and investment packages they will accrue after their contributions. The General Secretary of UNIWA, Deborah Freeman, urged members to be patient and enjoy the benefits under the pension scheme.
To the nature of the informal economy, acquiring social protection and welfare is difficult. It is therefore vital for our members to understand that pensions are a necessary protection so that you may be comfortable during your later years.
Acting Chief Executive Officer for Pensions Alliance Trust, Philip Della, spoke about rigorous application of the Pensions Act, not to shortchange contributors.
Tier 3, where the informal sector has an opportunity to invest in, we have 2 accounts. You can actually have what we call the pensions account and then an investment account. And so we are encouraging all of you to get involved.
A representative of the Secretary General of TUC, Bakwesi Dankwa, pledged commitment of TUC to support the workers' roll onto the pension scheme.
Away from the labor front, post-harvest losses are estimated to cost Africa about $4 billion annually, with Ghana losing $400 million a year.
In a bid to reverse the worrying trend, a 5-year plan which aims to help policymakers tackle post-harvest losses in Africa has been launched in Accra.
Eliminating post-harvest losses has been one major challenge Africa continues to battle. Every year, Africa loses about 37% of its total food produce to post-harvest losses. This costs the continent a minimum of about $4 billion a year. However, information on post-harvest losses cannot be readily available. In Ghana, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research puts the loss at $400 million per annum. Like other African countries, Ghana's agricultural sector is yet to eliminate post-harvest losses as infrastructure challenges, poor road network remain an important factor in the food production and distribution chain. In 2010, the Natural Resources Center, the European Commission's Joint Research Center, introduced the AFLIS mechanism, which is a scientific model that calculates losses of food crops across sub-Saharan Africa.
Along the value chain, we have several steps after harvest. So you've got harvesting, transport to the farm, drying, winnowing, storage, etc. So all these different steps can suffer different levels of loss. So a system like AFLIS will allow decision makers to better understand where the losses happen, where they are the worst, but also where they can act and have a better impact.
The launch brought together experts from over 30 sub-Saharan African countries to deliberate and exchange ideas on the use of the AFLIS systems. The last time Ghana had a data on post-harvest losses was in 2008 by Dr. Irene Ejiri of the University of Ghana. Ghana is seeking to make an impact with the AFLIS Plus innovative.